You're listening to The Endless Party with your hosts,
Megan Elijah Armstrong.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Endless Party. Glad to have you with us.
Yes, we are.
I'm going to be real. It's taken us some time to get here because our filming has been a bit skitty-wampus because there's been so much construction going on right outside.
So much construction that we just felt like it would totally mess up the audio. Like there was no way of getting around it. So
yeah, but we're here.
We're happy to be here.
They're not here today, and it's awesome.
We're like, we have to get this done now.
Yeah. So from the title, you can obviously see that it's the book review party. And we've read quite a few books since the last book review.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of want to share that with all of you guys and what we've learned, just small insights, as well as ones that we would highly recommend. Other ones, we'd still recommend, just not as much.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we'll go from there. Do you want to start us off, Meg?
Yeah, I'll start us off. I think the first one I want to talk about is, we did a whole podcast on it, but I just wanted to talk about it again. It's the 4 Agreements, and it's a book of wisdom. It's kind of like a Toltec vibe.
Yeah.
And it's by Don Miguel Ruiz. Very good book.
It is a good book.
We do like the 4 Agreements. I think the thing that sticks out to me the most in this one is I really like the idea that you can create your own mindset that can kind of combat the world, and you don't have to let other people's negativity get to you.
Yeah.
And you can do so by making 4 agreements to yourself. And in doing so, you create your own personal freedom, and you can be free from the world, you know?
Yeah, that's what I actually like about the book, too, is this understanding that you basically rise above it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you become so strong. It's kind of like that poem, right? Right at the end.
Yeah.
The one, promise yourself on the back wall.
Mm-hmm.
And it says right at the end, it's like, be too, what is it for anger? It's right here.
It's
too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. Really, that's what the 4 Agreements encompasses, is like just becoming the best you that you can be, believing in yourself and helping other people believe in themselves. And it's pretty cool.
It's a good read. I would recommend it.
I would too.
It's kind of cool because it's kind of different. It's kind of a different kind of a vibe for a self-help
It
book.
is, especially right at the beginning.
The beginning's a little bit interesting, but
and then you dive into it. It's a quick read too.
The
You could
agreements
read
are
it in
good.
a day.
And actually, as I'm like going about life, I always ask myself and tell myself, I'm like, don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions. When I'm starting to get mad or like assuming things, one of the agreements is to not make assumptions.
Yeah.
So that one really stuck with me.
It's really good.
There we go.
One of the books I read was actually The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belford. And there is so many stories about this man. I mean, you've probably heard of The Wolf of Wall Street and that movie. And it's pretty intense. But it's cool because Jordan ends up going to prison. And because he loses millions and millions of other people's money.
He's kind of a crook, right?
He's a crook. He's a thief.
But he's a very rich thief.
But he's incredible at what he does. And so he tells how to really sell whatever it is that you're selling. And he just talks about voice inflection and your words and the power that they have behind them. But then he even talks right at the end, and what he says is, there's nothing more valuable than your integrity.
Oh, that's cool.
And he learned that the hard way. He said, I hope and pray that none of you have to go through what I do. I did in order to figure out that integrity is truly what is valuable, and your character is what is valuable. So it's a great book, especially if you are in the realm of selling, and most of us are. In fact, all of us are, in my opinion.
We're all kind of salesmen.
Yeah. And so, highly recommend it, actually. It's a really good book.
There you go. Okay, I want to bring up the first book. We both read this book. I think this one's
on the wall.
I think this one's on the wall. It made the wall. It was that good. I think this one has been super life-changing for us. And I actually read it we kind of finished it right before I gave birth to the twins.
Yep.
It was right before the twins, and so it was.
Meg actually read it, and then she was like, "You should read
You
this
need
book."
to read this,
Yeah.
and so I think it really helped us work through that situation, and especially my birth. There's one thing that's really stuck out to me. It's the way that Norman Vincent Peale interprets the Bible and the scriptures, because I think sometimes we, we'll read Bible verses and we're like, well, this isn't applicable to me. This happened so long ago. But he makes these scriptures come to life, and you can see how you can choose to put like the teachings of Christ and all of the scriptures into your, apply them into your everyday life. And my favorite scripture from this that has really stuck with me, that I believe has helped me work through everything, is I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. And so that affirmation, I've started to apply it into my everyday life, and it's really worked out. A second thing I really like about this book is it just helps you to, it made the wall.
Really kind of made the wall twice, because the scripture up there
is
comes
from this book too. And it just really helps you to, one, believe in yourself, but two, you don't have to believe in yourself alone. And I think that's what's kind of cool, is that you can, trust that God believes in you more than you believe in yourself.
Well,
and
it's
you can
cool too, because he talks about how everything in life you can partner with God.
Yes.
And it's really an incredible book, just to help you come to the understanding that God is in the details, and he's in every aspect of your life, and you're never going about anything alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a powerful book. It's a powerful read.
And I think if you were going to, my recommendation, if you're going to read one of the books I talk about, this is the book I would recommend from this book review. And there's also been a lot of successful individuals who have adopted his positive thinking mentality and have become very successful.
Yeah.
And it just helps you to eliminate can't out of your vocabulary, and to just, I guess, move forward and positively.
Well, it's actually interesting. There's a lot of individuals, but whether you agree with his politics or not, Donald Trump is actually one of them. And he applies everything that Mr. Peale talks about. And I will say this, Donald Trump has been very successful.
You can't deny the fact that the man is successful. Very,
very successful. And so that's just one aspect of how influential this book has been.
Yes.
In one person's life. And it's obviously been very influential in our life. Yeah. So recommend it.
Power of Positive Thinking. You should definitely give it a chance.
Yeah. The other one that I read was The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. It's actually a really good book. I
started it, and I really want to read it.
There's a lot of little nuggets in here that just are inspirational, motivational. But the whole premise is your hour of power, and you do it from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. And so the first 20 minutes you're supposed to do rigorous exercise. The next 20 minutes you're supposed to do journaling, studying, really just working on yourself mentally. And then first 20 minutes, second 20 minutes. And then the last 20 minutes, it's like more meditation and prayer to like really focus in on yourself and to really recenter with a higher power, depending on who you believe in or what you believe in. And it was really influential in my life, especially before the babies came.
Before, we were getting up 3 or 4 times a night.
Yeah.
You got up for 5 a.m. for about.
Yeah. It was a solid month.
Yeah, you were consistent, and then we started to get up.
And then we had to get up at 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. and then multiple times a night, and then we just didn't sleep.
So
it was a little difficult for me to get up at 5 a.m., if I'm completely honest. But this is something I will implement again as soon as our babies start sleeping through the night, which is soon.
Which is really soon, and which is the perfect segue into, we read this 3 or 4 times since the babies.
We still read it.
This is on becoming baby wise, and it's giving your infant the gift of nighttime sleep. If you have a new baby, or you're going to have a baby,
expecting a baby,
I 10 out of 10 recommend this book. It has helped us to just find a routine and a structure with our twins that has just been incredible. It's changed our lives.
It's honestly been so
There
nice.
especially with our multiples, we just needed a sense of routine and structure. And we've been working with our twins now since they came home. So 2 months-ish now,
Yeah,
almost 2
so
months.
this book recommends that you can start Baby Wise, the process of Baby Wise,
As a newborn.
2 weeks after birth. And then they recommend for preterm babies, like our babies, 2 weeks after their corrected age. So their actual due date, not when they were actually born. And so we started this 2 weeks after their actual due date. And now I don't even know how many weeks in.
I don't really know either, but
it's incredible.
Our babies go in their cribs and they go to sleep.
They love their bed.
They love their bed.
They want to go to bed.
And it's taught them, like we've taught them that they have to self-soothe, and that like instant gratification, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Which is really, and you can start it as a child.
A newborn.
As a newborn.
Yeah.
And so it's been really good for our family, and it also helps you to normalize crying. And unfortunately, that's just how it is. There's just a bit of crying with twins.
And you don't. And the book even says you don't let your baby cry for hours and hours and hours.
No, that's
right?
not what it is.
It shows you the structure between comforting and consoling your baby as well as just letting him cry.
But it is nice too, because like every time your baby cries, you're not like freaking out like, oh, I'm such a bad mom, my baby's crying all the time. So this
highly
has helped
recommend,
us put
especially
our
for
babies
parents.
in order. Yeah, really good book.
Yeah, it's incredible. The next one I actually have, so I'll introduce both of these because it's from the same author and they're very, very similar. It's Bruce Humphreys, and one of them's called Crossroads and the other one's called Every Common Bush. And he, I believe, was a pastor, and he just started writing small excerpts into everyday life and how he sees the hand of God in every day. And that's why it's called Every Common Bush, is that he is able to recognize the Lord working through him and working with him and working through stories. And so he writes some beautiful short stories that are really just influential on how to be better and look for the hand of God in your life and strive to be a little more Christ-like to your fellow men. And they're both really good, so highly recommend both of them.
We read them before bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're so great.
We read one story before bed, or a couple stories, depending on how good they were.
And those are really good close to our night.
Yeah, they're great.
Okay, next book I'm going to talk about is Mothers, Daughters, and Body Image. This book was really helpful in just helping me to work through, body image, and it was especially nice to read it during pregnancy and postpartum, and it just helped me to recognize that there's power in what the female body can do, and then that should be the focus instead of just appearance. And I believe in taking care of yourself and, trying to put out a good appearance. You should take care of yourself. You should be healthy. You should, have good hygiene, all of those things.
Yeah.
But it's not the focus. The focus isn't the stylish clothes and trying to keep up with the, fake media that's out there. That's not the point. And this book really helped me to recognize, and I guess just pregnancy in general and giving birth to twins, that it's more about what your body can do. And
it was cool too that you were able to read it knowing that you were going to have 2 daughters.
That was really helpful too, yeah.
Because then it's like, how can I influence them based on how I perceive myself and my body?
Yes, okay, I'm so glad you brought that up. I kind of forgot about that, yeah. So the way I talk about my body and my body image is going to be the way our daughters feel about themselves. Yeah. And we kind of talked about this in another podcast.
Children are sponges, right?
Right. So if I'm being super negative and saying super negative things about what I look like and my appearance and who I am, then my daughters are going to question their appearance and who they are. And that is not what I want at all.
At our church on Sunday, there was a quote that was basically like, it was for a son to his father, and he had a few sons of his own, and he said, when you raise a son, you actually help raise your son's son. And so that actually reminded me of this book because you yourself are helping impact your granddaughters, not only your daughters, but your granddaughters and their daughters. And there's just this really like domino effect that you have because of really just how you perceive yourself in the world.
Anyways, it's really good, and I recommend it too. It was really helpful. So it's by Hillary L. McBride. Very good book.
So the other one that I actually read two. This is on real estate basically, and it's Creating Wealth by Robert G. Allen. And he just talks about how anybody can create wealth through real estate, and you don't have to have millions and millions of dollars. Like, the understanding that you have to have money to make money is just false. And then I read another one by Grant Cardone.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think what that one was called. I think it was like The Art in Investing in Real Estate or something like that. But his was basically the same premise. The only difference was, instead of buying homes, he says buy apartments. And so they're actually really good. If you guys want to invest in real estate and get into real estate at all, those are the ones that I would recommend. At least those are the ones that I've read. And hopefully I'm able to implement them a little more too. So we'll see.
There we go. Okay, next book is an Og Mandino book. It's called The Choice. Very good. It's obviously fiction, but it's an amazing story about this man who decides to take the risk and beat the odds and drop his really successful career in a corporate job, and instead he decides to pursue his passion, which is becoming an author, and he goes huge. And it takes a lot of perseverance, and he ends up having to actually work at like a sawmill because he has no money, because he decided to risk it all.
His book is being published and he's just like waiting.
Yes.
And then it goes ginormous.
Yes, and then I want to find the page. I should have bookmarked it. There's 5 questions he says to ask yourself.
Yeah.
And they're actually questions that I use to...
We use them all, like,
I use
every
them
day
to kind
almost.
of, yeah, and to kind of gauge where I'm at. And I know one of them is, are you at peace with yourself and others? Are you using your accomplishments, like, is your family seeing the fruits of your labor?
Your labor, that's one of them.
Are you living in the achievements of the present, like your future? And then what are the other 2?
I
don't even remember. We use them every day.
It's funny because we read them every day.
But anyways, there's 5 questions that he asks, and they're how I have set the goals for
They're really
myself.
good questions because it just gauges what's important in life and what should be important to you and how you're living each day to the fullest.
Yeah. So this is also a good book, and it's kind of fun too because it's a story. So it's always fun to kind of mix it up and throw a story into
Definitely
your reading.
Another book I actually don't have with me because it's in storage is Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. It's a really good book. A couple things that really stood out to me is this understanding of pride, and we should really do a podcast on pride in general.
Oh yeah, we're going to.
But how that is like the greatest of all sins, and we're not talking about pride in the sense of that you should be proud of
we're very
others.
Proud
You should be proud of your kids, and you should be proud of yourself when you accomplish something grand, you know. But we're talking more about this understanding of vanity, right? This understanding that you are above others, or that you are so boastful of yourself and your accomplishments. And he says that's the gateway sin to all other sins, and that's why it's so horrific. And anyways, it's a great book in the understanding because he was actually an agnostic and more so kind of leaning towards atheist, and then he found God, and it's his understanding of how he became a Christian and how all people can like look into it a little further.
There you go.
It's a good book.
That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to talk about 3 books right now. 1 second. Okay, so these 3 are just... One's called Golden Nuggets of Thought, the other one is Minute Masterpieces, and the third one is Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And these are pretty cool because each of them just have small passages just about different topics and principles, and they're really short. And they just kind of give you like I don't know, just a little boost, you know? And it's really nice too because they're just quick.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, and so whenever I had a spare moment, I would read one of these. So these were all really good. And I'll share one more and then we can both share this last one. This one I'm not finished with.
Yeah, I have one that I'm not finished with.
But I'm almost done. It's Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. I really have enjoyed this book. I think the best explanation came last night of this book.
It was funny.
I really like this book, and he has so many, like, he just is really smart.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm intelligent too, but he goes in depth on a lot of principles, and he's just very well read and studied. Anyways, Elijah's like, so what are you learning right now? And I was like, I don't know yet. But here's the thing. By the end of each chapter, I do know what I'm learning.
It's a book you really have to just engage in and like fully focus.
And
because he's very, very intelligent.
Yeah,
He's
very well read, very well studied. And the other thing,
he knows his stuff.
He knows his stuff, but you feel smarter after you read it, and his 12 rules make a lot of sense. He's also hysterical. He has a lot of dry humor in this book, and it actually kind of makes me laugh. So
they're actually really good.
They're really good rules.
Anybody would benefit from the 12 rules that he has outlined. Parents, you know,
one of my
college students, no matter what.
One of my favorite rules in here was that, since you said parents, is don't allow your kids to do anything that makes you dislike them. Mm-hmm. That's one of the rules. And that actually really helped us to baby-wise, because
got to the point where
it was just getting really tricky with our twins.
Well, it got to the point where it's like, I mean, maybe all parents can relate to this, but it's like, man, I shouldn't feel this way, but I don't like you right now.
Yeah, this is like really hard.
Yeah, and I know they didn't like us either.
No,
you know,
I was like, I'm getting so angry.
I'm getting so mad with this tiny baby, and it's a different ballgame when you've been cried at for like 10, 12 hours a day, right? Like,
yeah.
And you haven't slept for 10 days.
And they haven't slept either. That was the problem.
Right, and so it actually helped us because he puts it into perspective as to disciplining your kids and what that means and what that looks like, and how discipline is actually a form of love. And anyways, you should read it for yourself. It's really great.
12 Rules for Life.
An Antidote to Chaos.
An Antidote to Chaos.
The one I'm currently reading is called The Power of Habit by Charles, I don't know how to say his last name at all. Duhigg. Crazy name. Anyways, it's
We're
really...
We're going to do a whole podcast on this book, actually.
On habits in general,
not
just this book. But there's a couple books out there. Atomic Habit is one of them. This one was one of them. But the whole premise is how powerful habits really are in our life. In business, in family, in relationships, in everything. And how grateful we should be for habits, but sometimes we can have bad habits that we need to break, and what that entails and how we can break those habits. And overall, it's been a good read. Some of the chapters, like one or two of the chapters, I was kind of like, this doesn't really apply. But everything else has been pretty good so far. So I would recommend it.
This is the last book I think we're going to talk about today. And we both read it. It's another Norman Vincent Peale. So it's kind of when I gave birth, Elijah knew that I really enjoyed power positive thinking. So he gave me 3 more Norman Vincent Peale books to read. And honestly, I have loved just having the influence of this man in my life every day since the babies. His books are just so full of like goodness and positivity, and it's just really helped me to work through some dark moments and to work through just kind of the pitfalls and the, like problem solve through life. So this book is called You Can If You Think You Can, and it's pretty cool because what this book has taught me is whenever I feel like I'm in a pickle and, the words can't or don't kind of pop into my mind, like, oh, I can't do this, or this is a problem, I actually tell myself, you can if you think you can. And by doing that, I allow like positive energy to fill my mind, and then I'm able to find a solution. Like 10 out of 10 times, I think I've been able to find a solution. And so this book is super cool. It just, again, helps you to it just reminds yourself again to partner with God and to stay very positive. And there's just countless stories of people that have made it because they thought they could make it. And so that belief in yourself, he expresses that belief in yourself and the belief in God can help you do anything you want to accomplish. So
no, it's a really good book. I really enjoyed it.
We also read this actually in the NICU to our daughters. Every day we were there. And so it was really cool too, because we were telling these little tiny babies that, you know, they could if they thought they could. And I mean, I'm going to totally believe that it worked, because
I believe in it for sure.
You know, because the doctors and the staff were amazed at how fast our babies caught on and how fast they grew and developed and were able to leave the NICU. And I think it was a mixture of a lot of things, but having this influence in our lives was really good. So
yeah, I agree. It's a really good book.
It's a really good book.
Honestly, all the books that we have read, we'd recommend.
Yes.
What we try to do in our lives is read from the best books. And there's actually, I can't even remember what author was talking, but I read a book a while ago, and he even says, like, if a book is not really just pushing you to grow and to learn, or that it's not really engaging you, even if it's a fictional story, he's like, quit it. He's like, some people are like so adamant about finishing books. He's like, no, quit the books that don't really thrill you. And it's actually been nice to see that impact in our lives and how we've been able to just read from the best books and really just grow and learn, because we just pick the best authors. We just, kind of build from the ones that we're already reading.
Yeah, and my whole thing too is how are you ever going to learn how to be better and do better if you're not choosing to read and learn? It's interesting that growth comes from learning. Like, you have to learn how to be better, and you have to learn the principles and apply them to become a better, stronger person.
Well,
you can't
it's
just do it by just
all of these authors, right, that you learn from have made it in one sense or the other. They've accomplished great grand things in terms of wealth and success, or in terms of fame and success, or in terms of parenting and success. Whatever it is, like, that's what's so great about a book like Baby Wise. These individuals implemented this practice and saw great results with not only their kids, but hundreds of thousands of kids that are able to sleep and that are able to eat and that are able to just learn and grow and self-soothe. And that's just one example. And then you have somebody like Norman Vincent Peale, who writes You Can If You Think You Can, and then he includes hundreds of examples of stories of people who just believed in themselves and had the work to back it up. And just these books in and of itself help you to just learn from these people instead of trial and error. Like, you avoid so many pitfalls when you learn from other people's mistakes as well as other people's successes just by reading.
And I also think too, it's kind of cool that if you choose to take an unconventional route or to take a risk, you can be supported by these individuals. These are the people that can influence your dreams.
Cool understanding.
And I think that's why, first of all, you and I support each other's dreams, and God, of course, He's our partner. But then we have, all of these very successful individuals who are also supporting us every day. And these are the people that we're allowing to influence us and that we're allowing to change us for the better.
It's cool too, because there's this quote that says, show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you your future. And that actually includes authors. Like, if you spend your time with all of these authors on a consistent, regular basis, those will be your closest friends. And it's like, who better to influence you than Norman Vincent Peale or Anthony Robbins or Og Mandino or whoever that you idolize as an author, right? It's pretty cool because they can really influence and impact your life.
And these authors have. So we're super thankful to all these people who have chosen to put good content out there, and
hopefully that's what you get from us as well.
Hopefully so.
Also, if there's any book recommendations that you all have, we'd love to hear them.
Please let us know. We love to read, and we will read them.
And we will, and we'll give our own little insights and excerpts from it and review. So,
Anyways, thank you guys.
Until next time,
so
you guys.
much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
And we'll see you again.
Okay.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Endless Party. Please feel free to join us over at our website, theendlessparty.com, for more of our content. Also, we would love to hear from you. Leave some comments and let us know what you're interested in us talking about.
Seriously, like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, whatever it is the platform says to do, so that we can keep partying together.